Hello, Wednesday video time. And okay, so this video is, I have some notes here. That's why I'm looking over them. Sometimes I want to put together quick notes so to keep me on track. So this video is to my subscribers. That's why I don't have David Koresh in the title. If someone can't find it on YouTube for searching for David Koresh, because it's not really to them. Okay, so I need to clarify some things. That's why I'm making this video. There's a comment on my last video about comparing when David Koresh tried to be Bob Vila, which I was trying to be funny. Some people didn't. One person didn't think it was funny, and we'll get into that. Okay. Uh, Let me close the door really quick. I apologize. See here. Okay. I don't. I don't want to have to start the video over, and it's going to be short anyway. All right. I'm also going to try to not have all these nervous tics that you've probably noticed. I apologize for those. Anyway. Okay. So this is only to my subscribers, and I want to talk about some things about the channel and what my purpose is, and for people who are subscribing who might. Okay. Anyway, well, reasons why people might subscribe. Some of you would subscribe because you're interested in the topic and you think that I have something to contribute, right? Some kind of information that's useful, and then comments have indicated that. Okay, so I thank you that have commented. I will get to answering comments. I usually do it in bursts. I'll just go in and, I type really fast. I can get in and answer a bunch really quickly. I haven't done that lately, but I will do that. I try to answer all my contents because I do have a low subscriber count and consequently a low comment count. So I can still answer comments when I need to. And if your comment has been a question and it has not been answered yet, it will be answered eventually. Or if you say something of note, I will try to respond. And then I know that some people subscribe because not necessarily they think I'm right, but they're just interested in the topic. Hey, this guy's got something to say. And I know people have disagreed with me because I've seen, though that's a low amount. And that's fine. You can disagree with me. And I typically am not going to be deleting comments unless they are overtly disrespectful. So that's happened maybe a couple of times, mostly in the marriage video, when I talk about how David Koresh tried to destroy my marriage. That's a sensitive subject with me. Probably a lot of you would understand why. And that's the thing that can really get me going and make me angry. And anger is an emotion, and sometimes we get angry, whatever. Anyway, I try to not be angry, but to just calm down. Let's look at the facts, all that kind of stuff, right? So yeah, I mostly don't delete comments unless they're just overtly disrespectful. But this one person made a comment about my video yesterday. I didn't think it was disrespectful. It was just a disagreement, so it's fine. I don't ask for subscribers or notification, but I find that annoying when I watch videos and people say please subscribe and hit that notification, and they will say, well, I notice I'm getting a lot of views, but the metrics show that most of you don't subscribe. Look, I can't subscribe to every channel that I might watch because I already have too many. I have too many. So I know that it's annoying for me. This is my own opinion, to tell people to subscribe, and I assume that the average person is of average intelligence, right? That makes sense, right? I assume that if you want to subscribe, you'll subscribe, and if you don't, you don't. It's easy, right? It's like telling somebody to remember to breathe. It's silly. Okay, so yeah. when I see a channel that I like, whoa, this guy is really, or this person, right? There's some women, of course, whatever, any person of any type of persuasion is making a channel that's putting together some content that I'm interested in. Yeah, I'm gonna subscribe to that person. So I assume that the other people, my audience, is the same way. I am lazy. Okay, so now the purpose of my channel. Okay, so I'm super lazy. I really am. I don't have super high production values. I'm sure you've noticed. I'm using a software called Clipchamp, okay, which is like free, and I like free. I like free. Free's good. Um, so I've seen videos where people. I used to watch a channel that was like a nature-oriented channel, or like animations, and they were doing these incredibly great high production value videos. And then we're getting like millions of views. And then they did one video on the monarch butterfly or something, and it got like just a few thousand. And then the channel, that was their last video, and I was like, wow. I wonder if that has something to do with it, that they put all this effort into this last video and they got hardly any views. And maybe they got frustrated. I don't know, but yeah, that could be depressing. So if I have low production values because to me, I just want to get the information out, and so people can watch and learn and do it efficiently. Okay. Everybody knows most of my viewers probably have average lives. You got to work, you've got to do all kinds of stuff. I'm the same way. I've got a job. I'm actually between jobs right now, but I'm starting a new job Friday. And this job is going to probably be it's an unlimited overtime job, which I've never had one like that before. And so that gives me an opportunity to make more money, which I need because I have some debt. Yeah, join the club, right? Anyway. Yeah. So I have limited amounts of time, right? Yeah. You're not telling, yeah, everybody's like, yeah, just tell me about it. Of course. And so I don't want to spend huge amounts of time in the production values. One thing I have noticed is releasing a Branch Davidian study on my other channel takes a lot of time. I'm working on a Ben Roden study right now, and I did the one on it was David Koresh from November 15th, 1984, on the alternate channel, where he's talking about Lois Roden's latest track that she released, and I went out and actually bought a little Epson scanner because I wanted to make a scan of that. It was $150. It's it's a nice little which is fine. I need a scanner. I didn't have one because I have a lot of documents to scan. Like I have I have branch tracks that are not scanned in to the this is a Lois Roden circa 1981. I think it's 79. So December 79. You can see that's Pope John Paul there. This is extremely dated. And you can see Teddy. I don't know if you recognize Teddy. This is anyway, we'll get to things like that. We have so much content. I could go for years. I don't know when I'll run out, but it's going to be a while. We have plenty of information to talk about and give my viewers. And the purpose, okay, so let's tie, and the reason I've decided to do this after 30 years is because it's time, okay? It's time now to do history, in my opinion. Okay, initially after the fire, and obviously it's an enormous tragedy, huge loss of life. I gotta make sure I don't, I can get emotional sometimes if I think about it. I don't really want to do that. Many of the children that died, I knew them personally. Okay, two of that come to mind: Abby and Audrey Martinez. Oh God, sorry. I knew those little girls. I knew them. Oh God. Because I just think of, God damn, that hit me really hard. I'm sorry. I mean, whatever. Yeah, I'm human. I'm just like everybody else. Abby and Audrey Martinez were one of the children of the Martinez mother. I don't remember her first name. And when I was living at Palestine, I used to. I remember I was listening to the song, Madonna song. Oh God, last night I dreamt of San Pedro. Just like I'd never gone, I knew the song. Young girls with eyes like the desert. I can't remember the name of the La Isla Bonita. And there was a part of the song that goes Te dijo te amo. And I asked Abby or Audrey, what does that mean? And they were so little. They were like, oh, I don't know, 6 or 7. She told me, one of them told me, I think it was the older one. It means to say that I love you. She's, oh, such sweet children. So it's sad, but it's been 30 years, and I I wasn't expecting that. You know how emotions can hit you sometimes. They just hit you. I'm sorry. Ugh. So it's been 30 years, and it's time to try to do some history. Okay? I don't want to fight with people. I don't. I'm tired. I've done my fighting. I haven't even done my video on how I showed you the fart letter. Okay? The fart letter made me mad. I picked up the phone, and I called Steve Schneider. Hey, let's do it. I went down to the Pomona house. All the guys were there. And I went in there. I did a bad job. I was only 25. I was not the way I am now. If some of you perceive me as articulate, then thank you. I wasn't nearly as articulate then. And most of those people in that room are dead. I tried to help them. Some of you will think, well, how can you help them? You're not, whatever. I failed. Steve Schneider was the leader of the group there. David Koresh was not there. And yeah, anyway. So yeah, I was fighting that day. I was 33 years ago. So I don't want to fight. Okay, and I've mentioned before that David Koresh is a legend. He's a myth in a way. Even people who believe in him of some kind, even people on my channel who think he was a prophet, there are myths out there about him. Okay? And I'll talk about that in a little bit here. I have some notes. I want to do history, right? So I'm a source. In history, you need sources. Somebody has to write something. Somebody has to say something that somebody else hears. Whatever. Can't just make it up out of thin air. Or in some cases, maybe you'll find a physical thing, an object. A lot of times, for example, in Roman history, there are coins, whatever. There has to be evidence to do history. And when people are sources, they are biased. Okay, I'm biased. Everyone's biased. Right? Right. So historians take data and they write a book about something. Like this is about the Crusades. Okay? This historian has gone through, good book by the way, if you want to learn about the Crusades. And you take sources and you put them together and you try to figure out, you might have a source that might have some interesting information, but it's like, well, this guy seems to be sucking up to somebody a little bit too much. And so the historian will evaluate the source and try to moderate and compensate for bias and things like that. And that's what I try to do, even in myself. That's like I say, when I get emotional about David Koresh, from my point of view, trying to destroy my marriage, I get emotional because that's something that's important to me. You try to take it away from me, from my point of view. So I tell the story from my point of view as really not a whole lot of other ways I can tell it. And then you have to evaluate what you're hearing, measure it against reality, and draw your own conclusions. And there was actually a person in the comments who seemed to be rather suspicious of the whole story because of the way it worked out. My thoughts to their suspicions was, except that it was 30 years ago, so I could understand if it just happened the other day, maybe you would suspect my wife of something or other. But since it's been 30 years, then, yeah, anyway. Stuff like that. And then you interpret that data, right? So you're collecting data, you're evaluating, and there's interpretations, right? And you develop hypotheses about certain situations. Then those might develop more mature into theories. Remember, a theory in scientific research is not just an opinion. It's a developed. That's why you call it the theory of relativity. And you can even have historical theories. So the theory of relativity isn't Einstein's opinion about relativity. It's a theory in science is like, yeah, that's where you want to go, right? There's two ways to use the word theory. One is in just casual conversation. Hey, I wonder if that guy's cheating on his wife. What's your theory? No. In science, theory is, whoa, that's the highest form of knowledge. Theory of relativity. I had a little fun fact about relativity. Some of you may not know this. GPS, that we use every day. The satellites that go around the Earth, and they go fast relative to us. They're not going very fast relative to the speed of light, but they still have to compensate for relativity because they're moving fast enough that if those clocks on those satellites would be out of sync with our clocks unless you compensate. Okay? That's it. That's one of the things about relativity that's useful. Like, hey, it's just stupid theory, I don't care. But no, we need it because if we wouldn't be able to, science is great, right? Okay, so now legends and myths, as I mentioned before, no matter what your position on Koresh is, whether you like him or you hate him or maybe you're neutral or whatever, there are myths and legends developed about him. Some of you may have heard about the meth lab myth, okay? Maybe some people who don't like Koresh, he's murdered all those agents and he's horrible and blah, blah, blah. Oh, he must have had a meth lab because the ATF said there was a meth lab and he must have been like a meth lab drug dealer guy. Well, no, he wasn't. And I know where the meth lab legend came from, and it was because the meth lab was there under George Roden, not under David Koresh. So, yeah. So it's a legend. It's a myth. There was no meth lab. David Koresh did not manufacture drugs. Okay? I know that. I mean, I'm as reasonably certain of that as I can be. So I want to be fair on this channel. I want to convey accurate information to the best of my ability. And I can tell you, no meth lab. Sorry if you hate Koresh and you want there to be a meth lab, but there wasn't a meth lab. All right? Now, on the other hand, unfortunately, for those who really love Koresh and think he was really great, you're going to have to deal with the fact that he had sexual intercourse with underage girls, like Michelle Jones and others. Okay? That's a fact. Your interpretation of that fact could be whatever. It was the will of God. I don't know. I don't think so, but that's my opinion of that fact, right? I have a very conventional attitude, which would be commonly shared amongst probably most people, that having sex with children is wrong. The only reason that David Koresh did it was because he believed that he was commanded by God to do so. Okay? So we can delve into that. What was Koresh's ideas about inspiration? Where did he ever get the idea that he was supposed to have sexual relations with young girls who would be considered by most people to be children? I spoke to his mother, Bonnie, on the phone many years ago. This would have been probably like mid-90s, a few years after the fire. She told me that 12-year-old girls were ready. And I'll leave it there. That's what she said. Okay? All right. I mean, so that was her opinion. You can, she was very young herself when she got involved with, with the adult things of life and having children and everything. So maybe that's part of it. Another myth, which maybe some people who are more pro Koresh would like to believe, but I'm here to tell you, memorizing the Bible. Okay, I think it's in the Wikipedia article on David Koresh that he memorized the Bible. Now, so let me establish a definition for memorizing the Bible. What is Isaiah 31:1? Blah 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 blah. What is Ezekiel 5:2? Nah, 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 nah. What, instant recall of verses that you just, some people can do that. In the entire time that I was in the group, I never one single time ever saw David Koresh demonstrate such an ability. Okay? So either A, he had the ability, but he never demonstrated it, which I find that a bit unlikely, given his personality. Or B, he didn't have any such ability. Or C, I wasn't around to see him do it, which is unlikely since I was around a lot. Okay? Now, having said that, could David Koresh quote the Bible at length? Well, of course. He could quote vast swaths of Bible, especially Psalms, especially Isaiah, even a lot of the New, obviously. Sure. But that's not the same as memorizing the Bible as just a general statement, right? That's my opinion on the subject. So it's complicated, right? You could say to someone memorizing the Bible could mean what I just said about, he just knew a lot of Bible. Okay, fine. But if your idea of memorizing the Bible means he could just quote chapter verse like a computer, probably not. Okay. All right. So the last video, there was a person who commented that I'm being negative. Okay, fair enough. All I can tell you is I saw the man sign a contract to get a certain amount of work done, and then he went to Israel, and it was never done. And I remember at the time with just, wow. I'm young. He's older than me. Again, I keep saying I'm 19. He's 25. Okay? So I found that incredible. This person commented, well, maybe he expected the crew to go and do the work. Look, here's the thing. Like, we didn't do something unless Koresh told us to, right? This is a group where he's in charge. And we are following his inspiration and leadership. That's the model. We don't just go do things, especially major projects like renovating houses, without permission. Okay? So even if there had been a crew, which I'll get to in a second, if he's gone to Israel and gone for several weeks and he has not left instructions to finish the house, then it didn't get finished. He would have, if he had done that, he would have told Perry Jones. He was the one who was second in command. There was no Steve Schneider at the time. And Perry would have been on it, and he would have been over every morning in the herring. We would have been over there, and we would have been doing whatever we could to get it done. Now, as far as the crew goes, when I think of crew, I think of, like, again, the Bob Vila model, where there's a team of people who are skilled. That's why I used that comparison. I wasn't kidding. This is a major renovation project, right? I'm trying to create a picture, an image that people can visualize, House, decrepit, broken down, half quarter burned, needs a lot of work. Okay? Substantial amount of work, right? Organization. You've seen some of you have seen this old house. Bob Vila, back in the old days, on the site, this and that. Bring in this guy. Talk about this. Talk about that. We got to do this every day. It's a full-time job for several weeks, months to get it done. Substantial amount of work. Now, okay. Now, Faye, the woman who instigated this whole project, to be fair, she could have been full of crap. And what I mean by that is maybe she wanted it done on the super cheap, which that wouldn't be surprising because you can ask questions, which I asked myself some questions just since I've made the video, to be fair. Historical questions. Was the house insured? If it was, what did she do with the insurance money? I can't answer these questions. Maybe her son could, because her son, I think, is still alive, and I'd like to find him. Maybe he's watching this video. I don't know. And we could answer these questions. Excuse me. A little bit of tears earlier. Put some mucus in my throat. My goodness. All right. So yeah, it could be a lot her fault too. Absolutely. Maybe she wanted it done for ridiculously low amounts of money, which wasn't possible. Maybe David Koresh felt like he had no choice to keep her happy. There are other ways to interpret this. Okay? But having said that, it's still weird to sign a contract to do something and then run off to Israel and be gone for weeks and never have the time to do it. Okay? Maybe he felt intimidated. I doubt that. Okay, given Vernon's personality. Whatever. Anyway, there's different ways to look at the data and maybe draw different conclusions. But still, that leaves the facts about the thing I told you about the timing, in terms of, working all day and then working late at night, but being tired the next day and then not starting work till the afternoon. And, so there's time management issues, right? And because he has to give studies and at the very least, he's taking up too much upon himself. All right. Okay. So yeah, there wasn't a crew in terms of a skilled group of people that were capable of doing a project like this. He was the one that had the skills to do it, supposedly. How much actual skill he had, I don't really know. Again, even Koresh at this point is very young. Okay, he's 25 years old, and he spent a lot of time not doing carpentry. I know he was at Mount Carmel learning the message and helping Lois Roden fix cars and things and maybe doing odd carpentry here and there, but massive home renovation projects, I don't know how much experience he had doing that kind of thing. Probably not very much. All right. But like I said, Faye could have been a major factor here in terms of the failure of this project. So I'm not absolving her of any responsibility. Okay? I'm not trying to say that it was 100% Koresh's fault. Okay. To be fair. All right? Let's be fair. So if I'm overly negative, I apologize. I don't want to fight. I don't want to make people mad. Okay? Okay. There's coming a video on it's a Benjamin Roden study, and that will be coming soon. I will put that in a comment on the channel to point to it and tell you about it. Yeah. It is an original Benjamin Roden study given on April 1st, 1978. I happen to be in the audience of this study. I even got to read a Bible passage. You'll hear my squeaky little voice there, prepubescent voice. And I'm in the presence of the prophet himself, Benjamin Roden. Remember, in this time, he was the big kahuna. Everything that David Koresh claimed to be, he kind of was. The latter-day David, gonna build the temple. Yeah, building the temple was a big deal. Here's one of the tracks that video mentions, and this is a reference to the 1967 Israeli war. And so this tract is created in response to that. And one of the things inside is I have it on the video, and I'll have posted in the I made a PDF of. That's why I bought the scanner. I scanned this in. I made a PDF. So this is branch history. This is dated June 1969, and it is claiming that as birds flying, so jet fighters are defending Jerusalem. And that's a fulfillment of Scripture, Isaiah 31. As birds flying, God is going to defend, blah, blah, blah. So it says here, what does it say? Yeah. The temple was destroyed in 70 AD. It has never been rebuilt. Do you want to help build it? Go to Israel. Go ye out to meet him, Matthew 25:6. Yeah. So that was the big thing with Benjamin Roden and the branches and George. I told a funny story about the secret cubit, right? Benjamin Roden had the secret to the cubit. You can't build the temple, because if you don't know the length of the cubit, then right, I mean, if the cubit, how big is the cubit, right? We talked about it being about this long, but I mean, is it this long, or is it this, like how, if you don't get it just right, your temple won't be the right size, and then it won't work. The mojo won't be correct, right? So you gotta build it right. I remember I told the story, because Benjamin Roden died, and then George got the secret of the cubit. Right? So now he's got the secret, and David Koresh doesn't have it. So this is George's, this is his inheritance. David Koresh never had a doctrine of rebuilding the temple. Okay? At least not the way that the Rodens did. The Rodens had a physical temple that they were going to build. I'm going to post, along with this, in this Ben Roden video, I'm going to post the obituary, Ben Roden's obituary, that was printed in the Waco Tribune-Herald when he died. I have it somewhere. And in the obituary, instructions are given to the 4 sons of Benjamin Roden are to do. George is to oversee construction like a construction manager, and then the other 3 sons, some of who have passed away at this point. In fact, I think 3 out of the 4 sons are now passed away. But in 78, one of them was going to be in charge of the metalwork, and so on and so forth. This was serious stuff. Okay. This was, even Lois Roden went over to the. I have another tract on that. Went over to the Holy Land in 1980 with her son George, and they were looking for a new location for the temple. The Dome of the Rock. I'll just show a little picture of that. Well, they said no, we're not gonna build it there. The Muslims can have the Dome of the Rock. It's fine. They can keep their sacred site. We don't need to build it there because this temple that we're going to build is going to be too big for that site. It's going to be really big. It's Ezekiel's temple. I linked a picture of that. It was, but David Koresh, of course, was more about the scriptures. Like, let's learn the scriptures, let's fulfill the scriptures, let's, the 7 seals and those types of things. And if there was a temple, it would have been spiritual, I suppose, or maybe that would have been in the future, but he wasn't concerned about it right at the moment when he was teaching. So this was a big shift in emphasis. Okay, so that's coming. Short, quick video to clarify things, just for my viewers. Sorry about all the emotion, but on the other hand, I'm sure you'll sympathize. People who watch this know that it was really bad, and little children dying is bad, and I am sorry. So that's why 30 years later, trying to understand, trying to learn, don't want to fight, don't want to get into arguments, don't want to offend people. I mean, I know that it's the internet, it's unavoidable to some degree, but I'm trying to moderate, to keep things respectable, so that people can watch the channel and learn, even if you might disagree with me about some things. So, till next time. Next video coming this weekend, Christology of David Koresh. You know, what did he believe about Jesus? And it's going to be actually an evolution of thought over 9.5 years, from September 1983 till the very end, Passover 1993. Views shifted over time, emphases shifted, views of Christ shifted, views of himself, what his role was, evolved over time, and we'll look at that. There's essentially 3 main phases. I've already historians like to divide things into phases, you know. That's what I've done. It's essentially true. We'll get into all that. So that's coming this weekend, next weekend. See you then.